Well, it's Virgo season, everyone. And I just thought it would be a wonderful thing to mark this occasion by perhaps starting this recording with a reading from the book of Renaissance, uh, track 3, verse 1.
Mhm.
I'm one of one. I'm number one.
Mm.
I'm the only one.
Mhm.
Don't even waste your time trying to compete with me. No one else in this world can think like me.
Mm.
I'm twisted.
Mm.
I'll contradict it. Keep
Mhm.
him addicted. Lies on his lips. I lick it. Unique. That's what you are. Stilettos kicking vintage crystal off the bar. Category. Bad. Bleep. I'm the bar. Alien superstar. Thank you so much. Welcome to
Yes, 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 yes.
Let the church say amen. I'm too
Amen.
classy for this world
Uh-huh.
forever. Welcome to the read, everyone. Just kidding. It's the score. So happy to have you back. So happy to be here. It is a blessing. Happy Virgo season to all of y'all out there. My Virgo Mars is out here celebrating and creating PowerPoints as to why you are wrong. My name, as always, is Rocky Jones. I am the EDI director here at Minnesota Opera. Oh, and I should probably say what the score is. The score is Minnesota Opera's podcast all about opera, classical music, pop culture, as seen through the eyes of 3 Black queer opera administrators. Again, my name's Rocky, and as always, I'm here with my fabulous co-host, the beautiful, luminous, intelligent, incredible Paige Reynolds, aka Iyawo Inowale. Hello, Paige.
Hello. Aw, shucks. Can you always introduce me?
Yes.
It's like everywhere.
Well, it's all true.
Yeah.
I don't
Thank you.
lie. I only have hot friends. So
Period.
Period. Well, unfortunately, our third co-host, the equally fabulous Lee Bynum, is off doing PhD tings, so he could not be here with us this week. But in his stead, we have the newest member of the Score family, actually an original member of the Score family, because
OG to
yes,
the score.
OG, literal. You probably, if you go back to the archives last spring when we were little baby podcasters, she was so kind enough to take a chance on a young, untested podcast and was our very, very first guest. And now is joining us. She had officially joined the Score family as the EDI coordinator at Minnesota Opera. And so she's here to help us with all of our EDI initiatives and programs, but also here to help us with the score. So she will be on periodically when we are in situations like this. But our very first guest, incredible musician, person, friend, the incredible Emilia Mettenbrink. Welcome back to the show.
Yay!
Yay!
I feel like I should just carry the two of you in my pocket everywhere and be like, every time I want to enter a room with extra zaza.
I wonder, like, what that like person in, I guess, maybe medievalish times who would just like go before like royal people or whatever and just like kind of yell that they were coming.
I
Like,
don't know. Like, I don't know what their
what do you
job
call
title
that?
was.
Or like, you know, you always see those things where they would have like a series of lute players and singers that would like announce.
Yes.
Yes.
I'm into that. I feel like that's a vibe.
What were they called though? I mean, they weren't the jester,
No, they were not.
the royal announcer or something. Well,
No.
anyway, yes, we should
Yeah.
we should look into
Yeah.
that. I'm sure, like, you know, we could find somebody on TaskRabbit or something who would be willing to do that for us. So how are you both? What's going on?
Well, I, Emilia, am in Canada,
Oh, Canada.
Quebec City. So I'm flexing my French tongue instead of my English, which is lovely. And I'm loving the fall weather, which has already arrived here. Yeah. So I'm in a happy place.
Nice.
Nice.
Fabulous. So what is up in Canada? What's going on? Why are you there?
My partner owns a place up here. We kind of do the dual citizenship rock between the United States and Canada. And at the end of my summer, I had just a little bit of time and I was close to the Canadian border. And I thought this would be the perfect opportunity to bounce on over and see my favorite person in the world. Here just for a short visit, and then I'll be back in the States shortly. But yeah, took the dog, crossed the Great Line, and here I am.
Nice. What was the trip like? Because I know that we talked a little bit about that.
It was so funny because right after
intimidation of going
right
the border,
right after I got off the phone with you guys, I came to the border and I had that moment where I acknowledged the last that says like the last US exit, dun dun dun, and then you cross into international waters because you have to go over a bridge into no man's land to this island. And P.S. if y'all haven't been to Thousand Islands, the bridge that crosses at Thousand Islands is gorgeous. And I looked down off that bridge and I was like, I need to have a place here. Like it's a little snippet of heaven. Just there's tiny, tiny little islands, like 1 or 2 houses per island. And the way to get around is by boat. Like you just your boat around to the other islands to say hello to your friends and like, but people own their own islands, y'all.
Oh my gosh.
It's real life.
Yeah, I want to at least see that, but I kind of want that to be my life. Okay.
The only thing that
I called my partner and I was like, can we talk about this?
The only thing I worry about though is like the winter.
Oh yeah, winter. People must own jet skis.
It freezes and you can just
it's walk.
The St. Lawrence River. Yeah. So if
it's like slide.
The islands are close enough that it does freeze, but the middle of the river does not freeze because the St. Lawrence runs all the way up to the Gulf in Canada and is the largest river. At the end of which there are beluga whales if you go to the end of that river. Yes.
It's activating my wanderlust.
I
really is.
No, you're talking to 2 Sagittarians, so
right.
But
we're planning.
Side note was to indicate that I got to that border and there was a very short line, but the guy asked me if I had any alcohol with me. He asked if I had any marijuana products with me, and there must have been something in my voice that even though I thought immediately said no, he said, why did you hesitate? And I was like, excuse me? What? Sometimes I carry CBD because I use a tincture. And he said, but you don't have any on you right now. And I was like, no, I left it in Chautauqua because I knew I couldn't cross an international border with the controlled substances that they are. And he was like, okay, thank you. And then I went on my way. But yeah, there was a moment of like, oh goodness. Is he gonna search my car?
I thought Canadians were supposed to be chill.
Not at the
Also,
border, honey.
what's
Mm-mm.
weird is that both sides of that border, New York and all of Canada, have now legalized marijuana. So I don't really know why we need to continue to ask that question, but I guess there's this international thing. Like, you cannot carry it across an international border because they are controlled differently within each country, even though there are sections where it is legal. So, note to self.
Good to know.
He kept looking at the dog. The dog helps me out in those situations. Every time I get myself into a shitty situation, they take one look at the puppy and they're like, she can't be that bad. He loves her. I will too.
Right.
So
Perfect
what do
wingman.
what do you like to do when you're in Quebec? What's going on?
Well, I get to, at the moment, I get to flex my design muscles because since this place was so recently purchased, and Simon learned 5 years ago when we started dating that I'm really good at designing, and I designed his place in the States before he left, and he was like, oh, you should always do this. So though he bought it, he's been waiting for me to, when I come here, to do the, like, oh, we need this kind of chair, and these are the knobs we should get for the kitchen, and all of the what color are we going to paint this space. So yeah, I've been doing, today I purchased knobs for the kitchen that his family so graciously painted all the cabinets white, so now they don't look like they're from the 1970s.
Lovely. What color were they before? That they look like they're from the 70s.
Like pine wood, and then the tile on the backsplash had these little birds on them.
Yeah.
You know, and not that that
I'm
isn't
picturing it.
yeah. I mean, I feel like that's appropriate for like a cabin in the woods maybe vibe, but maybe not for a downtown apartment condo situation. So yeah, I get to do a little bit of that. There's been a lot of that. I bike. I take the dog on long walks in the woods because Quebec is very close to some beautiful state parks and places where you can be outside in the wilderness, and also close to the city. So in that way, a bit like Minneapolis, St. Paul. But yeah, take a breath of fresh air, reset, refocus, begin again.
Eat some poutine.
Oh, that is definitely happening probably tonight.
Oh, that's so exciting. I'm so jealous.
Yeah, well, I do have an extra bedroom. By the end of my time here, it'll be fully furnished and everyone can come see us.
And it's like knock, knock, knock.
Well, you'd be surprised how many times his family has already, because when he comes to the States to visit me, his mom, his sister, his cousins, they all are like, oh, can we come stay at your place? Came back. So yes, we've that's part of the plan, is that it becomes a communal space, never empty.
Oh, that's awesome.
That's beautiful. I will gladly come visit. I love a road trip. I will hop in my VW and
maybe I'll fly. That seems.
Well, speaking of your VW, how is that car of yours, Miss Paige?
Reunited after trials and tribulations we went through. To fill in the audience, we had an interesting situation of the car battery having some issues in the Whole Foods parking lot one day. When I was with my partner. Luckily, shout out to the friendly Black man who works there at the front. I think he's like security or something like that, but he just came and helped us. Like, he really, I wasn't it first of all, it's a Whole Foods parking lot. So
the one that's like underground.
Yes.
Oh no.
Yes.
Yeah, that's not.
And if we just think of Whole Foods,
that's not where you want to be.
Customer base. And me and my Black femme self stuck in the Whole Foods parking lot with my partner, also Black,
Yep.
Yeah, so I was very grateful for him to just I felt like he's really taking control of the situation right now, and I don't mind. Yes, fine, let's figure out how to jump this thing, figure out how to I appreciated it. But then later on I was at my postpartum doula client's house, and the battery had another issue, and I went to open the hood from like inside the car, and the hood latch, like the hood unlocking lever, broke. Like it snapped.
Like that, like
It
in your
broke.
hand.
I mean, it wasn't like the handle broke off, but it was like I could feel that like inside something
Oh
it broke, and like
no.
it wasn't
Oh,
unlocking the hood like it
Oh,
was
that
supposed to.
sounds like a
So
nightmare.
then I couldn't even get into the car to hood to assess the battery situation.
oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
And
Level
this
of
is like a newish car, or like new to you, right?
New to me. New to me. Yep. Yep. So it ended up, so after a whole ordeal of, having to get it, keep it at my client's house for a little bit, get it towed back, make an appointment with the VW dealership because I didn't want to trust anybody else with messing with potentially messing it up, especially like the front grille and stuff like that. Like, I'm gonna take this to a Volkswagen person, definitely. After all that, it ended up being one of those things where it's like the most random little part, but it costs you so much money.
Ugh.
So much money. Like, yeah. So they had to do that. We had to replace the battery. Yeah.
And your insurance didn't cover it?
No.
Oh,
No.
oh. That makes my stomach hurt.
I was sick. I was sick. But shout out to supportive father, who came through with advice, and some emergency funds. Shout out to Pops. Shout out to Pops and his car expertise, and shout out to anxiety medication.
That's the one.
That is the one and the two and the three, okay? Because I was like, the page that didn't have a psychiatrist would have been losing it with all of this and not knowing how I was going to get to my clients also, and
which is your source
like,
of income.
right,
When you're paying for, yes.
all kinds of stuff. So yeah, now it's resolved. The car's back. Yeah, we owe like buku money for it for the repairs. But it's back.
But that's
It's
a future
handled.
page problem.
That's a future page problem, says my Lexapro. She
Yeah.
says we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. Yeah.
Woo.
That's where I've been at.
Oh my goodness, that sounds stressful.
Yeah, it was. I think it was my dad who was just like, yeah, adulting is hard, isn't it? Yeah, it's just
No, I mean, it reminds me of earlier this spring. I guess it was May, and I was back home, back east, like at my mom's house, and it was one of the first days where it like got above like 90 here in May, because climate change isn't a thing, but 90 degrees in May in Minnesota, totally normal. Anyway, so Dennis was back here and it was 90 degrees. So he turned on the air conditioning and then nothing happened.
Oh no.
Oh no.
And it was like, what? And so
What do you
then,
mean?
and so then he got somebody to come out here and look at it, and $14,000 later, we have a whole new HVAC system. Yeah, yeah.
Ooh.
So, so that was a fun conversation.
Mhm. Mhm.
hmm
Oh, I'm sure that was a blast.
But you know what? It's nice and cool. We will not freeze in the winter.
Yep.
So that, and the inspector came on Wednesday and it was installed properly. So now we have our permits and things. And so ultimately it's a good thing. But yeah, I would have much rather spent that money on something else.
Man, oh man.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of adulthood, I feel like I took a very adult step this week. And I have, I've talked many, many times about my journey towards health and fitness on this show. And I decided to employ the services of a personal trainer. And I'm very excited about it.
Work.
Yes.
Yay.
Yes.
Are you still excited now that they've maybe kicked your butt a couple times?
So I've had 2 sessions. And after the first session, I couldn't walk for about a day and a half. It was very painful. But I was just like, you know what? I've made this choice. I'm going to go. I'm going to do it. And I went back again yesterday. And it was also, I got my butt kicked. But then he was like, so this was just level setting. So the next time you come in, we're going to start with the hard one, the hardest thing that we did today. That was the most impossible. And then we will work from there. And I was just like, oh. Okay, so well, I guess this is what I'm paying for. I'm not just paying to just lift some 5-pound weights, I guess. But at the same time, that seems a bit extreme. But hey, what do I know?
So is it mostly weight bearing activity, or is it?
Yeah. So it's mostly weight training. And some of it is like fun, like it's like that thing where they put the weights on the cart and then you have to like push it across the room. Like I feel like I'm like, like training in football camp or something. It's like, ooh, it's so butch. And then you have to like pull it across the room and like you get like attached to like a harness thing. But yeah, no, mostly it's just like lifting heavy things. But that will if you're me, that gets your heart rate up and
oh yeah, for sure,
drenched in buckets of sweat and whatnot.
I just wondered their methods, is it just like get on a treadmill and run a lot, or muscle activation?
Yeah, no, I don't think I would be into it if it was just get on the treadmill and run a lot.
I don't think a lot of us are into it.
But I guess people do it.
Like I think if then we'd all just run outside, but we don't. It's not our favorite thing to do.
That is true.
Definitely not one of mine.
No.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I mean, it's fun, and I highly recommend if you are at a place where you've been, because my little pandemic project was like, I've never been an athlete, but I just got some dumbbells and things and just started doing things in my basement. But it was just like, okay, well now it's time to level up. Let's see what else we can do. And so I went online and I found this website because I was just like, how do you find personal trainers? I don't know. I'm not, I'm not well versed in this world. And I found like the top Google search was like this website that was giving very like 2015. So I wasn't sure like if this was correct, but I found his profile. His name's Tom, and he was just like, yeah, I'm really into like working with beginners. I'm really into working with queer folks. I'm really and that's what I was just like, oh,
Awesome.
okay.
Okay.
I like
Yes.
him. Yeah, and the gym's like 10 minutes away from my house, so I really don't have an excuse to not go. And yeah, I just trying to get, like I feel like I've been going through this kind of like a little bit of a sort of spiritual sort of journey the last couple of months. And
Mm.
really like I think like at first it was just like, oh, I need to lose all of this weight, and like, oh, like I need to like, you know I want to look like a porn star that's, auditioning for a Marvel movie. And like now it's just like, no. Like actually like now I just like need to like get out of my brain, get into my body, and just sort of like feel sort of that strength, feel that like that it's really kind of amazing the things that like, our bodies can do. And like perhaps you have a little bit of a gut, or something on your body that you don't like or whatever, or that we have been told not to like. And so it's been like a whole sort of journey of like unlearning all of that gross, yucky, super ego, hate your body, stand in the mirror and point out all of the flaws and whatnot. And it's been just so like joyous in a way that I just wasn't expecting, because I always just like associated like exercise and athleticism with like straight jock culture and all of the trauma that goes with that.
Yeah,
But it's just
it's
like
real.
it's just really dope, and I'm just really like proud of my body and proud of myself. And yeah, so highly recommend
I love that.
Yay.
Yeah.
Love that for you.
Oh, thank you. Well, so good to catch up with both of you. But
Mhm.
Emilia, you have been on an adventure this summer.
Mhm.
Lots of ups, lots of downs. And of course, if there's anyone on earth that can talk about the experience of being a Black woman in an orchestral setting, it is you, my dear. So we will be back to talk a little bit more about all of that fun stuff. We'll be right back.
All right. Welcome back, Scorekeepers, family and friends. Let's get into it, talking to our special guest, but not really a special guest anymore because she's just part of the team. Yay.
Part of the fam.
Emilia, yes, the OG Scorekeeper. And I would love to hear about the time that you recently spent at Chautauqua. And of course, we're going to fangirl over who you met there. But you are welcome to either start there or start wherever you'd like. Tell us about your experience.
Yeah, I feel like everyone who has not been to Chautauqua, and so I'm imagining most of the audience listeners, Chautauqua is a unique experience, and so I feel like it needs a backstory before I can explain anything else that happened there. So Chautauqua is this cool little community in upstate Western New York, right next to Lake Erie on Lake Chautauqua. And it's a gated, closed community, so not open to the public, in which that has been around for more than 100 years. And people go there to experience and surround themselves in the art and culture of the world. So for hundreds of years, people have been going to this place to see lots of art and experience lecture series on a daily, almost hourly basis. They have about 5 or so lectures a day. They have live theater, live dance, live classical music, live ballet, opera, things for young people, different sorts of religious faiths, all things intellectual and surrounded by knowledge exist in this place. And they have a festival for youth and for children to learn more about the arts. So you can go there almost like a summer camp for visual arts and dance and music and band and all the things. But people who own either property there or come for a summer, you can rent, and stay on the grounds for any period of the summer. And then you get access to like this day pass that lets you experience all of these lovely things that are Chautauqua. So I was invited to play with the orchestra for the summer, and I was one of their diversity fellowship people. So their diversity fellowship is much different than some of the others in the country in that they treat you like a full-time member of their ensemble. We performed 100% of the concerts and rehearsals and every activity that any other member of the orchestra was involved in. We were too. We were considered full members. We were not addressed in any other way. We were not treated in any other fashion. We rotated throughout whatever section we were in, violin, viola, cello, bass, whatever. We weren't relegated to the back or anything like that. So that was pretty cool. Get paid the same amount as everyone else does in the orchestra, which was also fantastic. Pretty unique experience. And we played a full summer season of concerts. They have a crazy schedule. So I performed at minimum 3 different programs a week, sometimes up to 4 and 5.
Ooh.
Insane.
Wow.
Yeah. And it's a one and done. So we do like a rehearsal, a concert, and then on to the next. And we stayed on the grounds, and I got to be a Chautauquan for the summer, and that's what I did. So as a Chautauquan, one of our final performances of the season, to kind of bring it around to what Paige was referring to, in amidst all those other concerts, and we played for 2 different operas and Ballet Hispanico and the National Ballet of Washington. So tons of different programs, but we got to perform with Rhiannon Giddens as our final concert of the season. Incredible. We've all been looking forward to it. I was definitely fangirling as soon as I arrived at rehearsal that day. She is beautiful to look at, beautiful to be around. She's a consummate professional on the podium. She was just there to, wrap her head around the music and keep going, which was great. We performed with a number of singers this summer, and I can tell you that she was one of the most prepared, respectful of the orchestra she was working with, professional in her environment. And yeah, we wasted no time. It was beautiful. I've never been more happy to associate myself with this.
That's so cool. So like, did you got to like meet her? Did you get to talk to her at all?
Just briefly. I mean, she spoke to the orchestra on stage during rehearsals. It was very cool, actually. The conductor kind of let her, for the better part, to lead rehearsals and say how she wanted things to sound. She had written most of the music that we were playing, or she had a very close friend of hers, a member of the Punch Brothers, who was also performing that week, who's a violinist, kind of arranged some of her songs for our ensemble. So we were playing a lot of works that were created directly for us, which was really cool. But yeah, I got to meet her after the performance because I fangirled backstage. I basically walked up to her and I said to her, I'm so sorry, and I'm going to fangirl. I really need to take a selfie with you if that's an okay experience for you right now. And she accommodated me, which was fantastic. So I took a selfie and I met her family that was there with her, which was wonderful. Aww. It was the last stop on her tour. And then she was gonna be taking a short break. Yeah. She said that she was exhausted, and she kept talking about when her voice was going to give out and like whether she still had it in her, in quotes. And I was like, girl, please. Of course, she sounded amazing and never missed a beat, and was playing the violin and the fiddle and the banjo and switching instruments and telling us how to make different sounds. And yes, it was just all kinds of leadership in form. So it was amazing.
Well, I'm just curious, for anyone who might not know who Rhiannon Giddens is and why that's such a big deal. Can you talk a little bit about her and like why she inspires you so much?
Well, I think if we can relate it to my fellow Minnesotans, she is a lot like Prince, in the way of there's not anything she can't do.
I mean, it's incredible. I
Like,
know I keep using that word, but it's true.
Yeah. It's incredible. I mean, she went to college to be a soprano, to be an opera singer, and to know the person, the artist, the musician that she has become is like, did you have extra time? Because I don't know what she plays. The guitar, she plays the banjo, she plays the fiddle. Like, and when I say play she doesn't kind of, sort of like, oh, you guys probably do it better than me. No, she can write the book she plays the fiddle, and it's amazing. And she speaks, I don't know how many languages. And one of her songs that she performed with us was a Scottish Highland dialect. Like, I didn't know nobody knew what she was singing, but she promised us it was not just gibberish. And I totally believe her, but she also is well versed in Italian and French and all the operatic languages that there are. And I'm sure on any given Sunday you could ask her to sing an operatic aria and she knows all the words. And then the same afternoon you could have her play bluegrass and she's quite good at it. And she could tell you where all these different musics came from. She's a lecturer. She can give you the history, the backstory, the left and right of
a scholar.
Yes.
A scholar.
Yes. On subjects that I don't know where the bottom of her ocean is, but like, wow, she can tell you things that are amazing and just speak the knowledge for hours and hours. And
I first came to her work through her oh gosh, I think through Black Banjo, and fiddle, like reclamation, and talking about Black folks' history with those instruments, or with like kind of bluegrass like styles of music, and the connection that these instruments have to, like, they are African instruments. Like they are. And her talking about the storytelling as well, like that was my intro to her work. And then I was like, oh wow, you actually do everything. And now that I know who you are, I see you everywhere. Like
she's well known within the opera world. She's also the artistic director of the Silk Road Ensemble, which performs everything from American contemporary classical to like Balinese, with just amazing range, and the milieu that there's nothing she does not know about music. I'm pretty sure. If it's musical, she is involved.
Well, I'm gonna turn into Lee for a second, and Miss Giddens, if you are listeing, please get in touch.
Please, one of y'all know her.
We have questions. We have praise, effusive praise. It'll be fun.
I used my moment with her as a a selfish ask for a selfie, but maybe there was something in the back of my mind that was like the score, but it didn't feel appropriate.
Yes, Ms. Giddens, if you are listening, this would be fun. Okay, we will we're gonna ask you good questions.
Yes.
Like good questions. Like, yeah. Please join us.
I mean, it's just like everyone always is like, you have like the same 24 hours a day as Beyonce. Like, no, she has the same 24 hours a day as Beyonce. Like, she unlocked those special powers somehow. I don't even know. It's incredible.
Amazing.
Time works differently for them.
And she's also one of those people, y'all, and Black don't crack, so I understand, but on another level, she does not age. Like, she could be 20, she could be 70. I don't like the amount of knowledge means that she's 102, but the look on her face means that she's 17. And I don't understand.
We'll also have to ask about that skincare routine.
Right. Also, with people like her, though, I also think it's just like, maybe that's just like part of the magic of just like really being in your bag and doing the thing that you're supposed to be on earth doing, and just like being brilliant in it. Like, that's an inner glow.
Yes.
Gotta be.
Yes, fully. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So I had a moment, and she was part of my Black joy that week. I just was like, yes, everything that you are.
Well, you were saying some things that I didn't know about Chautauqua earlier. Like, I didn't know that it was a gated community, and I didn't know.
Me neither.
So that would suggest to me, at least, that perhaps it is not the most diverse community.
And I can say that from a really secure place of, I grew up in Minneapolis, Minnesota, and I know Minnesota is just not a very diverse space. It is, Minneapolis, Minnesota is immensely more diverse than Chautauqua. Interesting vibe too, because within the grounds, I will say that they, as a community, for the most part, present a very inclusive, a very everything for all of us mentality of the world. They tend to be very liberal and very intellectually based. And, although there are many religious things going on within the grounds, and it may have begun 150 years ago as an experience of Christian faith, they have invited in every religion that I can see to the grounds. And there's an African American heritage house, and there's a Jewish faith house, and they have once a day they have a Muslim conversation, like Muslim 101, like where to begin. And like they represent that idea that we can live together, all of us. And though they are not very diverse in the way, when you walk through the city, it's mostly a white space city. Let's call it a town. It's a small space, but it's very inclusive, at least in its ideals. But if you go outside of those grounds, you go outside of those gates, and it's a part of the country that is both not diverse in its experience of the number of humans and the kinds of humans that there are walking around, but also very conservative space, very white space, very exclusive, and not in a positive way exclusive.
Western New York. There are parts of Western New York that
I have heard things about.
No, and I had some really negative experiences outside of the grounds, definitely, where it was palpable, not just in the Trump signs and the SUVs and the "don't take my gun" stickers everywhere. But the way I was treated by the common folk of those environments was really different from the way I was treated within the grounds. So I took my bicycle on the back of my car because I take it with me everywhere and I love to go bicycling. My idea was I will do a bunch of cycling and that's the way I'll stay in shape when I have all these rehearsals, you know, so I won't be sitting down all day. And I ended up only biking within the grounds because I didn't feel entirely safe exiting the grounds. And not that somebody would like come after me, but that if I got a flat tire, if I had to stop for water, I didn't know that I would feel comfortable, you know, just anywhere in those hills. So yeah, it is very, my partner, Simon, who's a white man from Quebec, came with me at the beginning and spent a few weeks there in the middle. And he noted that it is like the luxury of being able to live the way people do in Chautauqua, where people don't lock their doors and they leave their bikes outside and you can like let your children run through the streets and maybe they get home by dark, maybe they don't, and everything is cool, everything's fine. He was like, it's very interesting because they think that they've created that through their intellectual want for the other and to be open, but really it's economic. He was like, nobody wants for anything within these grounds. Everything is provided. There is an abundance of everything. And so when you have no wants or needs, of course you can be all inclusive. But it is when, you know, when there is scarcity is when we, you know, choose who our friends are and close our circles. And so it was very interesting to understand that it was money basically that was providing this level of security and safety that allowed you to be open to new ideas and new concepts and try something new and different and listen to different people speak different ways about things on an hourly basis. It was because you could take it or leave it at any given moment. It didn't have to be your Bible, it didn't have to be your way of life, didn't have to be anything more than that hour. And if you experience the world that way from a place of abundance, it's very easy to not have the conservative energy that exists in this country. But I think as we've learned over the past 5 years, you can convince a lot of people that the other is the problem when you don't have what you need to live and be comfortable and take care of yourself. So it was a very interesting summer. You know, kind of one of those moments in life where like you can see everyone being like, it's utopia here, and you can kind of see behind the veil. Like I felt like I could see the wizard and be like, y'all know that this isn't just
Well, utopia was the word I was going to use because I mean, I feel like all of this is just like, I mean, last 5 years, like last 500 years, last 5,000 years. But you know, there was a moment where the piece of this, you know, idyllic utopian, you know, universe was shattered, quite noisily and publicly. And you were there. You had a well, not a front row seat for it, but you were a block away.
I wasn't in the hall, but the hall where the orchestra plays and performs 3 times a week, 5 times a week, was the hall where Salman Rushdie was attacked and stabbed. And it happened, you know, on a Friday morning. We were supposed to do our first run out concert that evening, and I was walking the dog in the square just outside the hall, and all of a sudden there were police and a ruckus and people exiting in the middle of a lecture when they should have been sitting quietly. And someone texted me and told me that there was a stabbing, and I kind of was like, what what are you talking about? Because by August, I'm in full Chautauqua mode of like, bad
Mhm.
things don't happen here. What are you talking about? I'm used to my environment. You must be joking. And so it was very strange for a couple hours. And then of course there was a lockdown, and it got real for a sec. I think being from Minnesota, I had some moments of like PTSD where I was
I can
faced with like
imagine.
I
a
can
lot
only
of
imagine.
extra security, and like having I think all of us remember, especially artists, at the beginning of the pandemic, when you got those like 17,000 emails of like, this is canceled, that is canceled, we're not
Mhm.
going to do it, and this is canceled, this is not happening, and I'm sorry. And we got that first 2 emails of, we're not going to play this concert tonight, and your concert tomorrow is in the morning is canceled. And I remember having my heart tightened, and I was like I didn't even know that those feelings were still in me, but obviously
Yeah.
like I had
Yeah.
a true moment of like, oh my gosh, everything's gonna go away again. So that was frightening to me personally, but I mean, to be honest, it was still Chautauqua. We were still very safe, and unfortunately or fortunately, however you see it, this man who did this awful thing had a very unique and scheduled task that he wanted to perform, and it was not an attack on Chautauqua. It was an attack on a particular individual, and he was partially successful. So
Mhm.
it was scary, but Chautauqua wasn't really in danger after that 30-second period of time. So they kind of bounced back in a way that felt almost wrong to me. We had like 24 hours of like, wait, is everybody okay? We're gonna have a vigil. We're gonna, if you want to come down to the square and hold hands, kind of a thing. And then the governor spoke, and somebody wanted to whatever, and then we were back to making music, and it was very surreal almost that something so jarring could happen to that community, and then to just have things go on. We heard a lot of speeches about how art transcends, and we got a note from Salman Rushdie's people that he would have wanted for things to continue. He wouldn't have wanted for things to stop. But it did feel funny to play a concert the next day when he still wasn't awake. He hadn't been taken off the ventilator yet, and I felt uncomfortable about it, but they actually announced the middle of our concert. We took our intermission, and a man walked out on stage, the president of Chautauqua, and he said, and we just got notice from his people that Salman Rushdie's been taken off the ventilator, and he's making jokes and he's laughing. And there was a big eruption of applause in the audience, but it also felt a little bit like, are we over this?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it was I don't know. It took me a while to process personally everything that happened.
I can imagine.
Especially like, I don't know what you mentioned about being from here, from Minneapolis, and some things. Been through some things. Seen some things.
Well,
I think it would take a minute for my nervous system to recover
and it's
feel like things are okay.
Yes. And I will say, I wasn't consciously aware of, if somebody had said like, oh, if you see extra security, how will you feel? I probably would have been like, fine. And then it was in the moments of, seeing National Guardsmen or the state troopers or whatever, and being told that no one is allowed on the grounds. Like, it was only in that moment that I was like, and you're take that extra breath, and you can feel your skin kind of tighten on your body. And like, I had a very physical reaction to being in that state of fear again that I didn't know I was going to have. So it did take me a moment. On Sunday, we had a day off after playing that concert, and I can remember kind of wanting to take a walk, and I went to the dock with the dog and just kind of like needed to touch nature and feel kind of grounded in some way to come back to what felt like normal. And I put that in quotations because I'm not sure what that is, but yeah, it definitely took me a moment to grasp my emotional space again.
And it's just like so interesting because this place that's kind of founded on like art and expression and the free exchange of ideas. And here comes this person into the community to attack another person for, you know,
Yes,
creating
exactly.
art,
Yes.
expressing ideas freely. But then it's like, you know, okay, well, we're just going to take 24 hours. Y'all good? Okay, cool. Like, instead of like,
Yeah.
like, it's just kind of
Y'all good?
fascinating to me. Like, I was
Right.
like, I was like this community that's like, okay, like, let's take time to like, express our ideas and our feelings and like, it's just like, no, like, just sort of like the business of the business of art
Yeah, well, and
Yeah.
somebody said that
coming to the fore.
one of the other fellows, as we were discussing like how we felt about the way they had moved on, they were like, well, I think arts organizations have learned that you can't lock the doors and close up for very long, or you lose your audience and you lose your vibrancy in that space. And so it was a decision that, for better or for worse, I'm sure came from an economical standpoint and like the books, and that they've sold tickets to people and they have a festival that they put on and a series of, they pay all their artists to come in and perform, and they pay them properly. So this isn't a small amount of money that they can just waste or misuse or not take note of. So yeah, unfortunate. I think that when my friend said, oh yeah, well, I'm sure they made this from a business perspective, and I was like, ew, but then I know where we are. Like, I've lived through COVID, so I understand arts organizations and the hard decisions that they have to make. I wish that there would have been room for personal artists within the orchestra to make decisions for themselves, because we were brought back to rehearsal and then at the beginning and told nothing really the following afternoon. And then we arrived in our chairs to play rehearsal. And it was only then that our, kind of leaders for the orchestral ensemble came onto the podium and said, we'd like to acknowledge that there are some of you who will feel like this is too soon, or that they, still have some really hard feelings about what happened yesterday. And this is the decision that we've made, and we're going to move on. We're going to play the concert tonight. And these performers, the ballet, they really want to perform. They're from Washington, D.C. They performed just after 9/11. They feel that this is the way they want to move forward as artists. And it felt as if the decision had been made for me instead of with me.
Yeah.
As a member of the ensemble, which, I'm in an orchestra and my whole job is kind of like do what you're told a little bit. But in that moment, I didn't feel a lot of space to honor where I was as an individual dealing with that event. And it was just like, this is what the company has decided to do, and this is what we're gonna do. So it felt a little bit like matter of fact.
Well, and that's interesting. Like, they performed after 9/11. Like, that was 21 years ago. I'm pretty sure they probably didn't perform after 9/11.
And also,
I didn't even think of it that way, but yeah.
But also, they didn't perform at ground zero. Like, they didn't go down to the rubble and like dance on the ashes of what was left of those buildings. Whereas, I mean, like, it was that stage. They had to clean up the blood that morning.
Yeah, that's intense.
That's a lot.
It was intense. So that was, yeah. And to have also an outside group, the Washington National Ballet, like, I get it. They performed after a horrific event in their city, but like, they're coming into a space. To them, that's just a stage. to us who performs there 4 to 5 times a week, and we have rehearsals there 6 times a week, that's like a home.
Mm-hmm.
And somebody just, it'd be like, having a party the night after somebody like ransacked your house. It's just, you take a second and you hold hands with each other and you have a moment for your feelings. But, I think from an audience perspective, the audience, I'm sure, was like, oh, look at those artists making music to make themselves feel better.
I mean, that is the narrative.
We're just ripping the veil, right?
I mean, that's real though. That's the narrative that we're often given.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, I think almost every time, along with like the show going on.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's okay with the artist because
they're doing what they love.
It's part of
how they express themselves.
They don't want to be anywhere else but here right now. Like,
right.
And that is what we're told.
Mm-hmm.
Especially when you're on the side of like being the paying audience member or the person being marketed to or the
donor who we're asking for money. It's like you're giving these people their livelihood, their, what else would they possibly do but play music?
Yeah.
It's a beautiful, rather idyllic story to tell ourselves, but I'm not sure that it's reality.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like the most trauma-informed, trauma-aware kind of story we could be telling.
Indeed, no.
Yeah.
But that's Chautauqua.
I was gonna say that's
Salman Rushdie was there, and then Rhiannon Giddens was there, and in the meantime, I should say that also Misty Copeland was there.
Oh my god!
Oh snap!
We were just like at lunch one day. She had done her lecture that morning, and I had watched, and she's amazing. And let's not get into that because I'll fangirl for but I went to lunch. And we were just sitting eating our salads before rehearsal, and I look over at the next table and I was like, and she had her new baby and her partner, and they were just having a meal, and I totally had that pull back and forth of like, I need her picture. No, she is having dinner with her family. Don't go over there. He's not on duty right now.
But yeah, just let her be. Let her be.
Now that sounds idyllic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's the amount of people that you will experience in let's call it a week in Chautauqua is kind of surreal. The number of people that you might run into. Nancy Kerrigan spends her summers there.
Oh. Huh.
Yeah. Just like random pieces of American culture and international life, and gosh knows who you might run into.
That's what I pictured as you were, first describing it. It sounds like the kind of place where you would just run into random, I don't know, icons of American culture, just chilling, just spend their summers, hanging out. Yep.
That's what they want you to see too. I used to tell people that it's a bit like if you've watched Dirty Dancing.
Oh yeah, okay.
Like it's that
like
kind of
summer
vibe,
camp, like adult summer camp.
Like adult summer camp.
Yep.
Yep. Walt Disney grew up in Chautauqua, and he fashioned Disney World off of the same kind of like, so like you provide for everything within the walls of Disney World.
Okay.
There's nothing in there that that you have to go get somewhere else. You can get it all right there. That was the concept.
So like when you come up to the gates of Chautauqua, like do you have to like state your reason for being there? Do you have to have some sort of like a card? Oh,
Or you can go to the ticket office and get whatever, if you're coming to see you can also buy tickets for a specific event, and they'll give you get like a gate pass into the grounds for that one event.
gotcha.
Either have an event ticket, a date, some kind of pass, a day a week, or like the whole shebang, and you live on the grounds and you have what they call like a season. Like I still have it. I still have my card, my Chautauqua card. It looks like this.
Oh,
And gives me access to all the things that are Chautauqua. And you just, depending on which gates are open throughout the day, there's a south gate, a main gate, a north gate, and like 2 other small gates. And then, it's on a lake. So the other perimeter is the water. So, yeah, you just show a little pass. If they click it and they go, "Thank you. Welcome." Aqua.
Are there mascots and rides?
There's like a main square with like, they have different, sometimes food vendors, and like there's this big park, like a tiny version of Central Park, where people come and gather and kids play, and no cars allowed in the ground, so you have to park in the parking lots. And then people walk in the middle of the streets.
Somehow I already imagined that.
Yeah.
Just from the environment you're describing, and
makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
Well, from idyllic Chautauqua to the mean streets of Minneapolis. What we're super excited about, though, we've said it a number of times, though, is that you are the newest member of our Impact family, our Score family, and it's so exciting to have you in the role of EDI Coordinator. You've been with us for a few weeks now, and you're just a godsend. I'm just so happy that you're with us. But I just wanted to just take a little bit of time to just like maybe talk about your new role. And you've been playing in the Minnesota Opera Orchestra for a few years now. But to actually join us now on the admin team is pretty awesome. And so what led you here, and what made you decide that you wanted to take this new step in your career and come play with us?
Well, I guess first and foremost, with my role in Sphinx, the Sphinx organization and Sphinx Virtuosi, I have been involved in and around EDI work within the classical arts for a long time. And it has always been kind of a personal goal of mine to kind of forward that task within my industry, which I see as, orchestra, classical music, and the existence of a more diverse body of humans living and working in that space. Because I feel like, especially in the classical arts, classical ballet, classical music, classical opera, there is a void of people that look like me, people that look like you, kind of celebrated and seen as belonging or properly existing in that space. Not an anomaly, not a one-off, but just people look like that and they play violin, or people look like that and they sing opera. So that's always been on my mind and in my personal goals. And so I was out to lunch with a member of the Impact team, just because they happen to be a friend of me. So I'm a member of the Impact department at Minnesota Opera. And this person told me, "Oh yeah, there's this position that we can't find anybody for, and we're searching, and oh my gosh, would you want to do this?" And I was like, actually, that sounds kind of perfect. And So I didn't know anything until it was brought to my doorstep. And then I was just kind of like, oh, wow, yeah, this. And I started thinking about it, and I texted him later that evening and I said, hey, I think, could you send me the job description? Like, what is it? What is this actually? And he said, oh, I'll have Lee give you a call. And I was like, okay. So then that happened. And then a week later, it was like I was in an interview for a job that I didn't even know existed before. And it felt really appropriate. It just felt kind of like, well, yeah, this is the next step that I would, or one of the steps that I would take in my, professional life. So it felt really normal. And then I immediately went from, oh yeah, this is what I want to do, to, oh my gosh, can I do this? I don't know how to do this. No one ever told me that I could do this, and I'm kind of making my own rules here. And what does that mean?
Yeah, I've been to that party.
Yeah. And my anxiety kicked in like a normal human, and I had a moment of fear. And then I think one by one, I think each of you has in your own way talked me down off that crazy mountain. Frankie did it, Samuel did it, you've done it. Lee has definitely been like, no, you don't need to worry about that. And I'll stand right in front of him and be like, are you really sure? Are you sure? Are you positive? So, yeah, here I am.
No, and it's so funny because like when you say that, like, you were sitting in the interview and it was just like the light clicked, and it was just like, I think it was the same for us because like, we knew we needed, some help. So we created this role, but we didn't really quite know exactly what we were looking for either. And then like you popped up on the Zoom and we started having our conversation, and we're just like, oh, duh, yeah. Her. This is what okay, yeah, perfect. So I mean, it's just been so super fun, and so I'm just so excited about what's gonna happen with the score and what's gonna happen with all the work that we're doing. And so we're just so happy to have you here. And Scorekeepers, get used to hearing Emilia's voice, because she will be joining us from time to time to talk about all of the issues that you have come to love and know us for. But as if that wasn't enough joy, we've got our favorite segment coming up, Pure Black Joy, and we will be right back to talk about all of the Black things that are making us super happy this week. We'll be right back. See you soon. All right, everybody, welcome back. This is The Score. It's time for our last segment. The incredible, wonderful Emilia and Iago and myself are back to talk about the Black people, places, and things that are making us happy. It is time for and a 1 and a 2 and a 1, 2, 3, 4.
It's peanut butter jelly time, peanut butter jelly time, peanut butter jelly time, peanut butter jelly, peanut butter jelly, peanut butter jelly with a baseball bat. It's peanut butter jelly, peanut butter jelly, peanut butter jelly with a baseball bat.
Yes.
For your soul.
Yes. It is time for Pure Black Joy. Who wants to go first? I can jump in because I've got.
You jump in.
All right. I mean, my first one, like, I know we've been talking about Renaissance. Leah had the idea of, doing a full Renaissance review episode. But of course, Kid Fury and Crystal came back from their hiatus and did that on the read. So go listen to that because they did it much better than we ever could. But I feel like, no, I mean, we are just getting fed this summer. Incredible Black artists, especially Black women, are coming through and just feeding us. We got releases from Nikki. I was saying last night,
nourishment.
Yes, that my new pronouns are him, her by Megan Thee Stallion.
Yes.
There you go.
Talk about a piece of music. Whenever I enter a room, Like that I want to be my theme song.
Yes. Her.
Her.
I'm she. Yes.
Take a photo. It's me. Me.
Also, I feel like did Beyonce's people just like call everybody and was just like, change your albums, get it together, get in formation. We're rapping over house beats this summer.
Exactly.
You are all going to have at least one track of you rapping over house beats. Get in formation. I don't care if the album's done. Add another track. Like,
and it's so good. I'm just getting my whole life. Like every little gay atom in my body is just like, woo, just
vibrating.
It's tingling. It's amazing. So I'm just getting my whole life this week. So and also, I mean, the big news of the week, is of course Mr. President Joe Biden.
Oh yes.
And the student loan debt cancellation situation. And I was reading like some of the projections are, it's going to take 500,000 Black Americans from negative net worth to positive net worth, and especially we know those Pell Grants, are going to that cancellation. $20,000 is going to help a whole lot of people. So I'm happy and excited about that as well. And fortunately, my interesting foray into academia, I was able to escape that with a very small loan that I was, fortunately I have been able to pay off. But I just think about all of those people who are just swimming in tens and hundreds of thousands of dollars of debt, and that they're going to get some relief just makes me happy. So that's what I'm thinking about this week.
Well, my pure Black joy, besides listening to Beyonce's America Has a Problem over and over again.
That album just has a grip on me, and it will not let go. It will not let go.
Don't get no higher than this. No. Yeah, okay.
If there was a camera on me anytime Pure Honey came on.
Right. So besides the feeling I get when Beyonce says yada 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 boom boom ka ka, that's my real pure Black joy. But besides that, no, like for real, I think it is like so there was like the pure Black joy of Renaissance itself, but I am having an overall joy of watching more like kind of dance music or electronic kind of music popping into these mainstream spaces and done by Black people. Like that is giving me a lot of joy. There's another Black woman rapper by the name of Flo Milli. I love her. She's like if a Black Barbie could rap, like, and was in the movie Mean Girls. Like it's kind of giving like Mean Girl Barbie rap, but it's like really skillful. Like I mean that in the best way possible. But she also had like these kind of like electronic music sounds and stuff that like sounds different from I think for a while like hip hop has been like associated with a trap kind of sound. But there's a whole lot of sounds that Black people have made, have been making, have straight up created, especially when it comes to electronic music, and we don't get credited with the creation or that those genres have always been a part of our culture. So that is bringing me a lot of Black joy to see just publicly like brown faces being associated with this kind of music again. Like, it's often well known that, yeah, house started in Chicago with Black folk. Well, maybe it's actually not that well known. Actually, now that I think about it, maybe not everyone knows that.
Yeah.
Or
Teach the
that like
children.
electronic dance music, like Detroit, Black folks in Detroit pioneered that before whatever white people all over the world and in Europe founded whatever. Like, you know, they were going to places like Detroit and Chicago and stuff for their sounds, and then building on it. But not everyone knows that.
Isn't there that electronic music festival in Detroit every year?
Yes, movement.
Yes.
Every year. Yeah. So that is, I think that is my pure Black joy for real, because I'm just always here for there's this can be said of so many genres that like we've contributed so much. And I'm even talking of, we could look at Black Americans alone, like people who are descendant of this land, ancestors that were brought here during enslavement, like the things that we have created and our culture being going all over the world, and we don't always bring it back to the origin enough. Like its cultural context, its roots are the brilliant Black people that started it. And it's not like it's a bad thing that people of all colors, all backgrounds, all ethnicities, countries, nationalities are enjoying this music, but like, let's give credit where credit is due. So yeah, that's bringing me joy. Keep rapping over house beats, girls. I'm here for it.
Please.
I'm here for it.
Oh my God, yes.
Please.
It's everything.
Everything. Yeah, that's my PBJ. What about you, Emilia?
Well, hearing you two talk about music, of course, turns on my brain to a bunch of different artists that I now like want to share with you, other Black beautiful women that I think are doing amazing things. So I will say some names, and then the one that I had prepared, piece of Black joy, will come after that. So names, if you don't know them, you should look up. Being that I get to be in Canada for a little while, I always get to be immersed in like a new music area, because I feel like just being in with the American borders, you like don't hear any of the international music that's going on unless you really go look for it. So Canada, Dominique Fils-Aimé, she's a Black artist from Montreal. She came close to winning, or was involved with like their version of American Idol, but like the Montreal version. She's amazeballs.
Okay.
I have nothing but good things to say about her. It's very different. She writes a lot of her own music. She does some covers that are really interesting, different, like completely taking the words out of a song and putting them in a new song, but also are taking the music out of one and adding new word, like just some really interesting takes on things like that. So please check her out. She also has a bald head when she wants to, so just that's like a vibe for me. And then Amber Mark, African American. Well, I can't even call her African American because she's so international. She's born in Tennessee. Her father is Jamaican. Her mother is German. But as a child, her German mother like made her travel with her everywhere. So she like went to Goa, she went to Bali, she went to all amazing places all over the world. So she's very eclectic in the way she was taught about music, because she's heard so much of it since she was so little. So her album that she just put out recently has all this music that she was inspired by, like the ethos, the heavens, like it all has like not astrological necessarily, but having to do, like she gets inspired by the movements of the space, the planets, the different words will inspire her. She says that she started seeing the number 3 everywhere for a little while, so she did a bunch of music around that particular number, like just really interesting ways of viewing how you would be influenced by the world around you and how it might infiltrate your genre of music. So yeah, she's amazing. But my pure Black joy is over the summer. I saw all those amazing people in Chautauqua, which is awesome. But I also got to reconnect with an amazing number of Black artists, musicians, singers who kind of were part of my early attachment to classical music. Maybe I knew them when I was at New World or when I was still in school, who I did not see for a very long period of time. And then we're in Chautauqua this summer for some random reason. And what impressed me about that experience was how many of them I had stayed in pretty close contact with through Facebook and other social media aspects, but more so than that, not just that we had stayed in contact, but that each and every one of them had been supportive of my career from wherever they were in the world, and I had been supportive of theirs. So we had stayed not just in touch, but that we had been like pushing each other up simultaneously, talking about, like lifting each other in our art forms and speaking our names in places, which I think as a child growing up as a mixed person and I fit in a couple different spaces almost, I think I didn't often experience that kind of Black joy as in lifting each other up, as in like, I'm going to support this, I'm going to shout it from the heavens so that we all succeed. But as an adult, I am just beginning to kind of tap into that river of like how to support one another and how much I see it in the way in the interactions I see with other Black people. And it just brings me so much joy to kind of live in that space of like, I'm going to lift you and you will lift me, and I see you, you see me. Like it feels so good. It brings me so much love, and
I feel warm and fuzzy
I
just hearing you talk about it.
Oh, well, that warm fuzzy note, I think, is the perfect way to end the show and start our week. Thank you so much, Emile, for being with us. We are so excited I know I keep saying it, but that you are a part of the team.
It's true.
And of course, Iawo, as always, it has been a pleasure. And Lee, we miss you, and we will see you next time. He will be back with us, of course. And thank you to all of you out there in Cyberland, or whatever we're calling the space that we're occupying together right now, for listening and for joining us and for always supporting us. If you want to continue to support us, please feel free to subscribe to the show on the favorite in your favorite podcast platform of choice. Tell all of your friends about us, and most importantly, leave a review, please. So it really helps us out. It helps other folks out there learn about the show, and it just makes us feel good. So 5-star reviews, please. 5
out of 5.
Yeah, 5 out of 5.
I'm 5 of 5. And I think that's it. Did I say everything that we were supposed to? Oh, and we want to hear from you, so email us at thescore@mnopera.org. All right, I think that's it. I think that's everything. Any words of wisdom before we leave?
Go listen to Renaissance.
Yeah, there you go. Unique. That's what you are.
Unique. That's it. That's the word of wisdom.
All right, we'll see you in 2 weeks. Love you. Bye.
Bye.